My family, as I've said many times before, has been involved in agriculture here in Shenandoah County for over 7 generations. I've talked a lot in this race about my grandfather, Roy Orndorff, who for over 50 years farmed not only his own plot of land just outside of Psalmsville, raising beef cattle, and his hay, which he loved doing so much, going out and getting the best cutting that he could. I remember many days going out with him to pull weeds to make sure that we could deliver the very best product for our customer. My grandfather was involved in agriculture, not just as a farmer, but he was very involved in the rest of the agricultural process as well. He was a truck driver delivering lime to local farmers up and down the Shenandoah Valley. He also hauled apples, and some of you older residents of the county may even remember him bringing coal to your house. And I have many fond memories from my days in high school, chopping wood with him in the mornings and then in the afternoon delivering it to residents around Shenandoah County here. Now, as I said, I've spoken a lot about my grandfather Orndorff. But that's of course not the only side of my story. There's never one side to anyone's family history. My grandfather McInturf lived just at the top of Fisher's Hill in Strasburg. He was not a farmer by trade. He did raise his own chickens and raise potatoes. I spent many summers both planting and then harvesting the potatoes near the end of the summer. But his real vocation was as a brick mason. Many of the buildings that you see around the Shenandoah Valley, he is in the very fabric of those buildings. And you may think I'm just looking for meaning, or there may not really be, but I really feel that is true. All around, he built so many buildings that are so important to the fabric of our daily lives. Places of worship, places of business. One building that he was extremely proud of was the Winchester Medical Center, where he unfortunately spent many of his later days. But he was so proud of that building and so proud of what that facility had become and the services that it provided that are so needed here in the Shenandoah Valley. Now, my grandfather McInturf, as I said, was a bricklayer, and one site that he worked on was the Avtex site over in Front Royal. This site, many people may know, was a manufacturer of rayon for many, many years, closed in the late 1980s, and today is an EPA Superfund site. And actually, the Soil and Water Conservation District holds an easement on that site. My grandfather, in his work there, largely was in the smokestacks installing asbestos, which was used to control possible fires in the smokestacks. And to be perfectly honest with you, that work was largely the reason that his golden years were not so golden. He developed asbestosis, and in the later years of his life dealt with many cardiac and pulmonary problems. So my family deeply understands and has been affected by the issues presented to the Soil and Water Conservation District. We understand the importance of making sure that we have clean soil and water, making sure that farmers know the importance of that, and I think farmers certainly do to begin with, because they depend on this land for their very livelihood. But we also know the history here in the valley of industrial development and some of the negative impacts that have resulted from that. I am a student of history, not just by my degree from the University of Virginia in history and government, but also it's a real passion of mine. I love spending time with my grandmother McInturf and talking about the glorious past of Shenandoah County, but we also talk about some of the darker points, not just the successes, but also some of the failures. And one thing that continuously comes up is how we can react to the mistakes of the past to create a better tomorrow while still relying on the values and principles that have made this land so prosperous over the past 200 years. Now, in this race, there has been some talk about whether or not I'm necessarily qualified to serve on the Soil and Water Conservation District Board. The fact of the matter is, however, there is no real qualification to serve on the board. It's not like the Commonwealth's Attorney where you need to be a member of the bar. There is no real qualification. In my view, however, what we should be looking for in members of the Soil and Water Conservation District are individuals who understand the importance of balancing the values that have made this valley great, and understand the importance of a continuing and thriving agricultural industry here in Shenandoah County. And that's really what I want to bring to the board.